Ever wonder why it's so difficult to create a new routine? Do you struggle with motivation? If so, this is the video for you. Have you experienced when you're trying to learn something new or create a new routine that you lose motivation after a few weeks? Like, for example, you want to start working out and then you go to the gym for 3 to 4 weeks and then you never go back again. Or if you try a diet, you're trying to lose weight, you do a month and then you just gain the weight back. So the problem with that is usually, multiple problems, but usually that the goal is too ambitious and we don't give ourselves time to build up towards a new lifestyle, because it never supposed to be a short-term thing. Like, if I'm trying to create a new routine, I should treat it as a lifestyle. So this means that I prefer to start with smaller goals that are reachable. For example, when we try to inspire a baby to start crawling, we put the toy just far enough for the baby to not reach, but to create some sort of struggle, some sort of motivation. So I'd like to talk about what happens in the brain when we are trying to learn something new and why people say that it takes 21 days, 30 days, depending on your information. Because what happens in the brain when we try to learn something new, we create new connections between neurons as they start to communicate, and we create this brand new neural pathway, which takes time to become more natural. This is why repetition is key. So what happens when we have an old routine, an old reaction, old thoughts, old behavior patterns, that imagine it like it's a highway, like a 9-lane highway, because time and time again we've been traveling down, having something happen to us and we have the same reaction, always the same reaction. So why this is a highway? Because it's an automatic response. We've learned it at some point and we practiced it over time, sometimes over decades, so it's on autopilot. We don't even have to think, it just happens. Why this happens? Because the brain is trying to conserve energy. It's about 2% of our body mass, but it consumes about 25% of the energy. So it's very, very energy and time consuming to learn something new, because we remove ourselves from this highway that's been working for weeks, months, years, and we try to build a new one. Obviously, the construction takes time and effort at the beginning until it becomes very fluid. So when we try to create a new routine, a new habit, new thoughts, new reactions, whatever, imagine it like you arrive in a forest and there's absolutely nothing there. So you start to walk through the forest, creating a path, right? And then you start walking back and forth, you practice your new reaction, your new routine, and eventually it will be very clear, it will be visible, it will be wider, it will be more distinctive. While what's going on the other side of the equation, what is happening to your highway. So when we create something new, we focus on the goal. What do I want instead of what I don't want? Because I keep sending the focus and energy back on the highway when I answer the question, I don't want this. Like what I don't want, sorry. So instead of focusing on that, I focus on what I do want. And as soon as I start focusing on the new, the old eventually is going to disappear. The connections will be lost, because what happens to the highway when we abandon it for days, months, weeks, years? Eventually the forest will return and the highway will disappear. And then we created the new highway, and it will be much easier to think a certain way, to feel a certain way, because we constantly practice it. This is why it takes maybe 21 to 30 days to kickstart the new routine, but it does take a lot longer for it to become completely natural when we become one with the new routine. But it's also important that as soon as we feel that it becomes natural, we constantly update the system, the software, and maybe in a year or two we ask ourselves the same question: is this routine still serving me? And if not, is it time to update my software? Is it time to think differently, to feel differently? Because I'm not the same person, nothing is the same around me. So to summarize why it's important to give ourselves time and achievable goals at first, is because this entire thing, the body, the mind, everything needs to adapt, and patience is key. So we need to set achievable goals to not decrease the motivation, to actually make it a daily habit that we are thirsty for change, we are thirsty for this new habit. But in order to stay thirsty, we can't drink everything all at once, right? Just baby steps at a time. Also, this is why it could be useful and important to understand what actually happens in the brain, to really give ourselves the time to adapt and to always think that change is a lifestyle. It's not a temporary thing. If we want to make it long term, we need to make it a lifestyle. Hello! If you like the video, you know what to do. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Do all of those things. Thank you. Bye!